So here is take 2 at recording what I've done for Milestone 2 so far. And here is wrong folders. Okay, going into here, Milestone 2, first I open up the libdev. And I gotta compile my libraries. I always forget to do this. Alright, build, and we get, okay, copy to libs, I don't need that. Go back. So, going into here, I will first show you roughly what it looks like, and then I will go further into what exactly I did for this. And of course, I forgot to turn off my Bitdefender again, just like in the previous time, so hopefully it still lets me run, and I don't have to change folders. And save. Alright, so here is an initial look at some of the stuff, and I will go into detail about what I did. So first, going into, forgot to put these in here. So going into detail on what I did for the objects. First, the 4 objects that I am using in this are the cube model you gave us, which is right here. You can see it's indexed, here are the points for it, and going down to here, right now I have it set to write data from files, so this run it is actually writing it into the file, and then I will show that it works without the file afterwards, and I will do that for all the models. And the second model is the one right here, which is square pyramid, which you can see it's indexed, and here are the points for it. And likewise, it's writing file stuff and then reading file stuff. You can see it there. Third is the caltrop model, which you can see here, indexed, and here are the points. Going down, create VAO, here's all this stuff for the file, you can see. And last is the triangular prism model, which is this one. You can see the points. I did all of these manually, and I don't know how to do the curved surfaces yet. I'm in the process of learning that, so that'll probably be the next model I do. Alright, going into game.cpp, I will now show what all of these match up to. So, going down, you can see first create the models. Here's a camera, load the shaders, here's the textures. These are all stuff that you gave us, and it's basically the same as what you gave us. So the first column is these constant color ones, which I have a hack in there right now, which causes it to change color. Originally, I saw that in the GLSL file for the fragment shader, you had it set to only green, and I chose to change that so that it can have other colors as well. So you can see I have, this isn't actually what the colors are set to, but I will show you for these other ones that I can change the color for it. But you can see that it works on all the models, same with color by position, wireframe, textures, and textures with lights. So you can see I basically just created a bunch of them all in a row, positioned like this. They have the standard set position, set the rotation. You can see they're all done like that. Alright, and now the next part that I will show is, well, it says next is instancing, but you can see that I have different graphics objects, which are then instancing the game objects, and then you can add that to the game manager. You have the models and the shader objects, and those are all instants as well. And you can swap them out if you want to, but I have not actually done that part yet, which is something I will next time do, probably, because it's, you just have to set up a function where it swaps out the graphics data and then it'll read it from a different texture. So moving on to the camera, for what I did for the camera, I have it set up so that there is now a camera type, which is the focus camera and the free move camera. What I've changed in here is I've added a previous and next for the camera manager, which I will show. And there is the type, and then there is whether or not it's initialized, which is used to determine whether or not I set these variables with the current position. And these will only be set once, and all the cameras I have a reset button that go back to that position. So going down to the first camera, it's the camera, I called it a focus camera, but basically you can set the camera type through this function. It sets the type, and then based on which one it is, it does this. This is the, right here, it's setting the Z so that it resets it to the position. Going into the focus camera, it's basically what you have. I found out that the left and right button, or not the left and right, the up and down arrow keys that you originally had in here were swapped. So I went into the input manager and swapped them back to the correct mapping. That's the word. And then for the free cam, I have 2 basic functions, or 8 buttons in here. So I'm in the free cam right now. I can move left and right like this. I can move forward and backwards. I can look up and down, and I can look left and right. Left and right, up and down are the arrow keys. These are the arrow keys right here. And then moving is WASD. And then I also have buttons on 1 and 2. 1 lets me switch to your camera, which is I call the focus camera. And then at any point I can switch to 2 and go into free cam mode and look around like this. So Z reset button does that. Going over here, you can see that you can change the scaling of the objects, which is in game.cpp. I have them right here. You just set the scale like you had it, and it changes those objects. Then going over to this side over here, we have a bunch of different textures, and showing that the textures and colors can be different. So for the bottom row, these are all duckweeds, this one's all rocks, and these are all bricks. And these are all changing in color to red, and these are all to green. And it's just set with the position set and color set, which can be done for each individual one. Something else that I did with these is I changed the position, which is the position of the lighting. So the ones on the left over here, they are coming from the top, so the light's coming from the top. So you can see that's different from over here, where I have the light set to come from the right, and then these are the standard coming from the front. However, I do not have a static light source inside of here, so as I move around these things, you can see that the light on these green objects over here will always stay to the right, regardless of which side I'm on. So I need to figure out how to make a static light source so that it doesn't move around. Next up is the index with triangles. I showed you that part, and then loading from file. Okay, I can show you now that just exiting out of these, I'll open up these and set writing to 0, so you can see it gets grayed out, and grayed out. And you can see that even then, project will still run, you still have all your models. All the textures also come from the original TGA files that you gave us, so those are also coming from files. So next is the rendering modes, which, as you can see, I can have the different types of wireframes, static color, that kind of stuff. All that moving around. And different lighting modes, you can see it changed in lights, And then there's the light on here, which just light it up, and then there's the static color light, which actually colors it like that, depending on what you want it to be. Alright, for the scene graph, that is in Game Object Manager, which is right here, and the game objects. So you can see that the game object is coming from PCS node, and the game object manager has a PCS tree in it, so that it runs off that. Then when you are inside the game, you just add the game object manager, which you can then use to update all of them, draw all of them, or destroy all of them. And all the instancing stuff is done up here, so the input manager, model manager, shader manager, and camera manager. And then they're all destroyed down here. Speaking of the camera manager, I think I showed already, but I have it so that the forward and next is inside camera itself, so it accesses those through the camera manager, which can also say which active camera you want to get. And then I need to set it up so that it actually switches using this, but right now I just have it set so that using a button, it swaps between the two cameras I currently have. Next up is the complex attribute support. I can create and destroy cameras through this camera manager pretty easily, but I do not have any transitions or cutscenes between moving cameras. It just snaps to the second one. And then for the texture manager, I currently have the texture manager thing that you have for us here, which is the texture nodes. And then texture link, which is just the general texture stuff that you already gave us, and I've just been using that. So last up on this, I tried introducing some motion to it through this object right here, but it doesn't work quite how I want it to, but I can get some kind of motion working here. I need to find a better way to update the world matrix inside of the game object in order to do that, because right now all I have it doing is if I have use transform, then it'll use this transform matrix that I made, which is this right here, and then it sets the transformation matrix. And if it's not, it just goes with the default, which is the slow spinning, which you saw right there, and what you saw inside the model, inside the when I ran it. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, that is what I have done for the Milestone 2.